Today on Pots and Trowels we're at RHS Harlow Carr to have a look round these fantastic gardens. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels. This week we're out and about. We're at the RHS garden Harlow Carr on the outskirts of Harrogate, which is the RHS's most northerly garden. It's a fantastic garden with a woodland backdrop and plants and colour all through the year. So we're going to start by going streamside. Harlow Carr has always been known for its alpines, and it has a wonderful collection which is now housed in this fantastic glass house, specially built for the alpines. The plants in here are absolutely magnificent. Well, I've caught up now with Paul Cook, who's the curator here, and he's just amongst the wonderful candelabra primulas. Paul, hello, are you all right?
Very good, well, yes, good time of the year to see Harlow Carr.
It's perfect, isn't it? And this is just amazing through here. This is the streamside garden, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the historic centre of the garden. You know, it was when I remember Geoffrey Smith being here and the start of the primula planting, the Meconopsis, all the blue poppies. So yeah, we really celebrate the history and the future of the garden in this part of the garden.
So this has been here as it's a natural stream, isn't it? It's not man-made. Been here a long time, was set out a long time ago, but there's been an awful lot of work done here in the last few years, hasn't there?
Yeah, the water passes through from here right the way through the beck to Knaresborough, so it's a natural water course, but we of course add our gardening skills to it, and Amy Beth, who's the gardener in charge of this, has really gone to town on the various primula species, the historic candelabra primulas and the Meconopsis, and people find them difficult. They aren't the easiest to grow, but they like our conditions. They like the moisture. They like a lot of food to keep them healthy, like we do. And yeah, it's a very important part of the garden.
And these candelabra primulas are amazing because these are known as the Harlow Carr hybrids, aren't they? It's your own strain.
It is. In the early years when Geoffrey Smith was head gardener here, he planted mixtures of these candelabra types. They interbred, and then the strain known as Harlow Carr developed, which is a real sort of mix of pinks, purples, and what we have to watch out for though is this orange strain, which can sometimes dominate. So it will seed around, so as it finishes flowering the seeds come on in the whorls, it will seed around, but if we're not careful it will revert to this very strong growing orange form. So we have to select colour forms, propagate them and then replant.
Right, okay, so if you didn't it would just eventually all revert
It seems
back to
it seems to be, this seems to be the one that dominates.
Which often happens. As well as the planting, which is magnificent. I mean, it's good all year round, but it's at its peak at this time of the year. You've done a lot of construction work down here as well, haven't you? Why have you had to do that?
I think looking back on the early days, there were, there was a handful of gardeners here, and they really did what they could do with limited resources and with the materials. But over time, and particularly with the beck, we've noticed that these really intense rainstorms that we've had over the past few years have caused significant damage to the beck. So we've had to strengthen the banks, we've had to replace some of the bridges, but we've got support from the Friends of Harlow Carr, who've been here 20 years now, who've helped us fund these structures. And we've got some amazing local craftspeople as well in the area, so we've used their talents. And
the bridge next to us, this was only done recently, wasn't it? It's been completely rebuilt, and they've made an amazing job.
Yeah, designed by a master craftsman called Dave Griffiths, who came to me with a drawing, and then he handed it to Neil Beasley and others to put that drawing into, from literally a pile of rubble that was on the path here, and they transformed it into this wonderful structure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So other projects in the garden, as I'm wandering around, one of the things I love about Harlow Carr, I mean, it's just got such an intimate atmosphere, and you can relate to areas of it, for your garden, but there's quite a lot of work being done at the top top, which I'm going to have a look at later, where you've been doing some new beds and some big stonework. What is that, just to create more areas and evolve the garden?
Yeah, we've got a very keen team here. They want to work and develop the garden, so we've worked with obviously the garden advisors and make sure that the schemes are worked out and planned, and then the garden team have been given the go-ahead to sort of create new features, so using rock and a whole new mix of plants just to increase the variety in the garden and to test the limits of what can grow here.
Yeah,
it's a cold spot, isn't it? I mean,
it is a cold spot, and this is the most northerly of all the RHS gardens, isn't it, Harlow Carr, and it is in this sort of little valley. It's got its own microclimate, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, and very heavy clay.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of runoff, and the plants need a hand to get established. So that's what we're trying to do, and then use different areas of the garden, so that this is the lowest point, but at the top banks, south facing slopes, that's where we can perhaps be a bit more adventurous.
How big is the garden in total?
It's 58 acres, so roughly split by the beck, so around 30 of woodland, and then the rest is the sort of formal gardens.
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't realise there's that much woodland, but it's another area that's worth exploring.
Yeah, I suppose there's as much again, isn't it, the other side of the screen. One of my favourite areas as well is the productive area. That, of course, is a really, really good area, isn't it? Lots of innovative work going on up there.
You talk about it, that intimacy, and there you see how much veg and fruit can be grown together, and the sort of floral aspect of the productive gardens. So this year we're doing calendulas, so there's a whole different mix of seed grown and from plugs and that have been put in there. I mean, they really brighten up the garden. They're probably brighter than this primula.
Yeah, yes, they are. They look really, really good, and it's just the range of veg that's grown up there. I'm sure lots of people take away ideas and recreate that when they get home to their own gardens.
We hope so. I mean, there's always things we're learning as well. So the productive team try new things each year, and every year is different, isn't it? It was such a cold start.
Yeah.
So it's been a slow burner, but now things are taking off.
Well, it's always a popular area, and lots of people are there, as they are everywhere. And one of the good things at the moment, of course, is it's the summer garden show on at the moment, which has been happening now for 5 or 6 years here, hasn't it? Do you find that brings in lots of new people to the garden, the fact you've got this mini show, very high quality exhibitors? Having said that, do you find it benefits the garden by drawing in a new audience?
We work towards the show and that, make sure the garden's looking at its best, but as well as the garden, the range of exhibits we have, and I think the mix does draw a new audience. And then we're lucky we're here every day in that, but I think now that people are getting out more, we're sort of seeing new people and new groups of people who've taken gardening up or taken an interest in gardening. So hopefully that will continue, and the garden show is a great way to see horticulture at its best.
It is, isn't it? And it's good to get so many local nurseries in as well. It sort of unites everybody together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So as curator, you are obviously responsible for the garden, the maintenance, the development, the future planning, the planting, because you are very, very much a plantsman, I know that. I would imagine you spend a fair bit of time behind a desk in the office, but do you try and get out daily into the garden?
Any excuse, and the garden show has given us a perfect excuse, and working with the teams, I'd love to do more of it, but it is all about the future of the gardens, and the future is the garden team here, so I just got to encourage them to be as adventurous as they want to be, support them, and the students and apprentices, and of course the volunteers who help us keep on top of what is a very intensive garden.
Yeah, well you've got an amazing garden here, and I know you've got a really good team, because I know lots of them, and this is testament, the proof is in the eating, as they say. It's looking fantastic, Paul.
Yeah, it's a great time for us, and we want more people to enjoy it, so roll on the weekend and the rest of the summer.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm going to have another look round then. Thank you. This is one of my favourite areas of the garden. It's known as the productive garden. It's where all the fruit and vegetables are grown, and there is just about everything you can think of, with a smattering of lovely cut flowers in here as well. Most of the vegetables are grown in raised beds, so it just gets them out of the soil a bit and gives them a bit of an early start, and they're doing really well to say we've had a slow season here. And there is everything. We've got root crops, we've got onions, some fantastic garlic plants, and then around the edge we've got lots of trained fruit growing and a fruit cage there. So well thought out. It's sloped slightly to the south, so it's in a really good position, and later on the year this is going to be full of fresh and tasty produce. Well, we've only just scratched the surface of the gardens here at Harlow Carr, and there is so much to see, and at the moment at this time of the year it's just full of colour, but the herbaceous borders will only get better through the summer. There's lots of areas, the woodland and places that you can explore. So if you've not been to Harlow Carr before, you've not been for a while, I can highly recommend that you come and pay a visit, because it is looking great. And of course it's an all-season garden, so whenever you come there's something to see. Next week we're going to be back in our garden catching up with a few jobs to do, so we'll see you then. Bye.